morning and welcome to Daybreak Live. It's a brand new day and we are glad to have you with us as we break down the stories shaping the world, politics, conversations across the country. I'm Anuluakpo Ido.
And I'm Oluwayemi Adelakun. This morning, the economy is front and center. Former Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi is calling on the federal government to suspend the implementation of the new tax law, arguing that a timing could place even more pressure on Nigerians rather dealing with rising living costs.
It's the statement that's getting people talking, and we unpack the issues, reactions and implications in our Daybreak gist shortly, after which we'll bring you weather reports from major cities across the country to help you know what to expect from Mother Nature today.
Definitely, we'll also bring you the latest news update and then take a closer look at how today's stories have been framed in the papers. After that, we'll bring you a roundup of the day's major stories before diving into our newspaper headlines analysis.
Joining us for that segment is Temitokwe before campaigns begin.
And our guest for that conversation is Ignatius Ofino, a researcher and public affairs analyst, who will share insight on strategy, voter perception, and political outcomes.
So before we wrap up, we'll head for the online trend segment, where we check the trend watch spotlighting the issues Nigerians are reacting to and debating right now.
Definitely. So coming up on Daybreak Live on Dominion Television. Let's get started this morning. Good morning.
Absolutely.
To you.
Good morning to you, Yemi, this morning.
Good morning, Anne. Well
Yeah,
done.
I mean, it's always it's taking time for you to break every morning. I don't know if you have to depend, if you don't have a wristwatch that is working, if you don't have a phone that is,
and if you don't set your alarm,
you know, all of those things, you might be caught in that web.
Exactly, and I think it started from the 1st of January. This year. And that's the new dimension.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
So let's get into the conversation.
Definitely. So Peter Obi said something. That's
Yeah.
the former presidential candidate of Labour Party, Peter Obi, said the tax law should be suspended. And then, he's been able to come up with certain reasons why he thinks, it should be suspended. Let me start from this one. He's trying to say that, a report by KPMG Nigeria, which flagged potential issues including the taxation of shares, dividend treatment, non-resident obligations, and foreign exchange deductions. According to him, proper consultation, was not done before, coming up with this, tax laws and all of those. And then he also likened this tax reform to social contract, and I think according to the likes of Thomas Hobbes, in his book Leviathan, written in 1651, he was trying to explain that social contract means that the people, the society decides to have a ruler, a very powerful ruler, and of course they surrender willingly their powers to that ruler, and in exchange for that the ruler is supposed to ensure their safety, ensure law and order, and of course security, and quite a number of things. So in a situation whereby that ruler is unable to provide all of those things, they can take it back from that ruler. So it's a lot of things to discuss, because I mean even the chairman of the presidential fiscal reforms has been going from one media house to another trying to explain the complexities of this tax reform, because a lot of people do not understand. Now this is the issue. He also brought to the fore this argument to say that even KPMG cannot understand the tax reform, and of course I mean the intellectuals of this country, they move from one closed door meeting to the other trying to break down all the complexities of this tax reform. So how sure is the government that the commoners on the street will understand this tax reform? So these are the arguments that Peter Obi is bringing to the fore, to say that it should be looked into properly before saying we should move on. If at all, the tax reform should go through years of research, and of course try to speak to the business owners, the marketers, and of course the salary earners, to ensure that they are well catered for before moving on to actually implementing the tax reform.
I guess it's very important that we state that tax someday somehow will still become a reality in the country, Nigeria. Someday somehow, even this is a work in progress. It is not just a one-time thing. This is a work in progress. It is not just a one-time thing. It is a thing where we have to keep doing, they have to keep working on. But I think one of the claims that I'm going to allude to very seriously of Peter Obi is that before this kind of things should happen, before you even put this into implementation, there has to be one consultation, like you mentioned, the people and some concerned entities, maybe the Nigeria Labour Congress, the Trade Union Congress, every other person that will be affected or that is representing the voice of the people should come together. This is what we are proposing. How can we better arrange for this? This is what I'm saying is, oftentimes we've seen policies that there's something called technology transfer. It's when you take something that's working somewhere and just bring it back to another place so as to ensure that it works there too. But one of the underlying things we are forgetting is that for everything to work, for every house to be built, there needs to be a foundation. There are foundational systems that need to be in place before you start building some of these things. If you take hook, line, and sinker, a policy that is working, for example, in Canada, and bring it to Nigeria, it will fail the test of time. Why? The peculiarity of the states different from that of Canada, the Nigerian state, I mean. So if you have to consider some of the peculiarities in trade, and then, okay, say, how can we make this better? How can we do this to tailor it to the needs of the people, the peculiar needs of the people we are serving? Because at the end of the day, it's not really about the policy you make, it's about the people, how it reflects on them. So when Peter Obi gave out, I mean, they reeled out some of the concerns, quite a number of them. 31 is too much for something this big, because we understand. He also mentioned that this might, add to the burdens that Nigerians are going to face. That is also valid, because if you understand, maybe for a lot of persons, it was also one of the things they mentioned also was the fact that it affects foreign exchange as well. It affects people that are not Nigerians as well, because that might have a bad outlook on foreign investors coming to Nigeria to do business. Because if they see, well, if this tax is going to affect me drastically, then there's no we should, because she mentioned also, because she had the advantage of access. So see, there are a lot of companies making over $10 million, 10 million, maybe 10 million naira. I can't remember the figure, but she said something like that. There were a lot of them that have not paid tax in the last 10 years in Nigeria, and they evade tax not by evading it rightfully, but unlawfully. So there's a need to get that. But while we also address that, we must also address the issue that it must not reflect badly, so poorly on the Nigerian people, because at the end of the day, the laws are made for them, not them for the law. You understand? So I'm trying to say that there are a lot of issues that are not well tackled right at the root. But I think going forward, we should, and I think one of the things I'm going to allude to quickly is that I'm not sure this will have been by 2026 January we're starting. I'm seeing how about we start by saying, okay, so there's a new tax policy, there's a part of it that is going to fly, because there are other parts we are still working on. So this is the case, we can now cut it to say, okay, so this affects these people, maybe 800,000 income earners and all of that, they pay you, and this is why we are doing this yet. But we cannot put some of these things in place because we are still working on how to. I feel, in my opinion, I feel what they did was just get a development, a policy, and bring it on the people without considering the peculiarity of the Nigerian state, how it's going to reflect on the people. And I think that's my opinion.
Okay, I think you're very spot on. Let me take you from that angle. Benjamin Franklin said something that, there are two things that you cannot avoid in this life: death and, of course, paying of tax. But then, I mean, in the Western world, you cannot avoid it. So we can also avoid it in Africa, or let me say Nigeria now. So a lot of Nigerians have been paying tax before now, though indirectly. And of course, speaking of peculiarities, it is a problem to see that it's looking like this old tax reform was a bit rushed, and then, proper consultations, were not done before, saying that, okay, we are starting January 1st and this and that. And another problem is the fact that, according to Taiwo Uyedele now, he said several times that, okay, the poor, we pay less, and the rich, we pay more. Okay, how sure are we that that will stand? Because, I mean, the poor that you're talking about, we have amongst the poor, we have commoners, we have, learned people. A lot of them do not understand, how this tax reform will work. So it's easy for them to protest online to say we don't want to pay tax, even speak about the oil subsidy now, when it was removed at the time, what the government said was, okay, the money is going to be transferred to other things to ensure that, people are comfortable. And until now, okay, the price is going down, little by little, but then it's still high for a lot of persons because, certain prices have not gone back to what it used to be. So because of trust, that's why I said, going back to the, principle of social contract now, okay, authorities, or let me say laws are only legitimate, when it serves the people. So when it's not serving the people, it's a problem. And then the issue of trust too. Speaking of subsidy, Nigeria, a lot of Nigerians do not trust this current administration because of what transpired around the old subsidy. It's been removed, it's not been removed. At the time, there were even rumors that it was not removed at all. So because of that, and that's why a lot of Nigerians are not so comfortable with this whole tax reform. The poor will pay less, the rich will pay more. So I think the government must do a lot in ensuring that the people can trust them to a certain extent before we're not trying to say that we should come and pay this tax. At the end of the day, tax is supposed to help build our society. I mean, this is what happens in the Western world. They pay tax, and of course, they can see the dividends of the tax that they are paying. So how sure are we that Nigerians will begin to see the dividends of this tax when they begin to pay? So a lot of people are afraid about this whole thing. And of course, I thought Oyedele mentioned something. I mentioned that he's been going from one media house to the other. He said the people that are troubling us the most are those who do not even have close to 5 million in their account. And of course, I had to pause a little bit to understand what he's trying to say, that even the rich are not complaining so much. And he said it appears that the rich, are trying to instigate the poor, to protest against this tax reform. It will always happen, because, they're afraid to say, okay, this little that I have and I'm trying to save, I still want to be paying tax on it. And I'm not sure that it's going to reflect because, prices are high, things are going on in the country. It's a lot to unpack. Is it spot on? Does he have point to say that it should be suspended? Yes, maybe it might be put on hold for a while because anything you rush, at the end of the day, you discover that, you have to wait more. And then you will learn, but you will learn the hard way. So it's not good to rush certain things. But I want to believe that, the government and, of course, the president, they have intellectuals on this matter trying to make it work. Tayo Dele also said that, KPMG do not understand the tax law. These people, this firm, they are in charge of audit. They're in charge of, things that has to do with finance. So if you say they don't understand the tax reforms, so what about the commoners on the road? How do you expect them to understand if people who have degrees cannot understand the tax reform?
Absolutely.
How do you expect people to understand?
Because now, if he makes, he's making the claims, right? What about the National Assembly? There was a time they said the ones that was passed to them was not the same as the one that is being circulated, and a lot of that came about. So I think one of the things I want to say is that an aspect they did not do. Okay, so let me tell you a quick story. I went to buy something in the place I used to go. And when I got there, the woman asked me to put the narration. And I asked her what should be the narration. And she told me something very funny. And it was very funny to me. Because an average person there does not understand what this tax policy is. So they are in limbo as to what to do. So sometimes they tell you, you want to do POS. Don't write POS, write something. So there's a lot of question tags everywhere. Miscommunications, misconceptions, and all of this that needs to be, addressed by this particular, what's the National Orientation Agency doing about this? We need to see, we've seen where they put up 747, we've seen where they do a lot of public orientation and all of this, which is okay, but how about this too? This is just as important, especially because you are rushing it. A lot of persons are getting so much information and less to understand. It's so difficult for them to manage the information. There's miscommunication on the part of Tayo Oyedele and every other person in that sect. There's a need for them to explain in detail. So people should know, okay, this is the taxable income. They've released so many reports. Some of this, if you check for an average person who has gone to school, it might still be difficult for you to understand the intricacies. Even if you read between the lines, it might be difficult to interpret some of those writings. Let us have a conversation for the populace, for the people, to understand that this tax reform is that. So one of the ways we can do this, and I'm professing this as a solution, is to say what the tax policy is not. It's okay when you want to know something, what is a COP? It's also good if you want to know from the angle that what is a COP not, or what is not likely to be a COP. So it creates a better understanding of the picture is quite clearer. If you say these are the misconceptions, these are the myths, these are the things, okay, so let's debunk this. This will not happen in this tax reform. How about that? How about proper communication? How about having town hall meetings? How about setting up people that will go? Because I have issues with I don't know how to go about these things to fully express what I'm trying to say. There are things, there are people who are supposed to man certain things in this kind of policy for it to work well. There are institutions who are supposed to be saddled with that responsibility to not just tell people, but to help people go about how to work these tax out for maybe for organizations and all of this thing. But now you get to see that individuals are coming up in finance, individual finance, corporate bodies and agents will come up and say they want to help organizations, but in that way too, some of them might need to maybe, I don't know, extort the people because they don't have a choice. There are not so much options. How many finance experts can you meet now for your company, for your little company that you're just starting up, that I need a tax understanding of all of these things? Let me get you to engage me. So how, just not just engage, but to help me go about paying the tax directly and rightly. They said a lot of things about eventually after the year there's going to be an account of okay how you spend some of the things but who's going to be in charge of that? How many persons can be interfacing with over 200 million people to explain this was how this was this? So they're saying okay, we are going to see through your accounts which one is taxable, I mean which one is the income, which one is the payee, which one is the taxable income, which one is not. All of these things are still, people are still not so, it's abstruse, yeah? It's not very clear, it's not vivid, it's not lucid as they see it. They probably see it lucidly, but we cannot yet see it. So we need to also get on the same page that Taiwo Yedele is. He knows this is the best for Nigeria, we agree. How can it be understandable? How can it be understood, if so to say? How can it be understood by an average commoner, a person in the country who needs this information? And I think that's one of the things we need to put on the table.
Definitely, and I think to conclude, I want to believe that sensitization should be done periodically, not just at once, so that when people need answers to questions, they can always visit appropriate bodies to ask questions, and of course they get answers as to what they need to do when it comes to these tax reforms. But it doesn't really have to be stopped totally, but then proper things should be done before we kick off these tax reforms. And of course that's the fine place to leave that discussion. We want to move on to weather reports this morning. We have Ibadan, and weather in Ibadan this morning feels like 23 degrees Celsius. Later is expected to be around 28 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy around 1%. In the afternoon, 36 degrees Celsius, mostly sunny around 0%. And the evening, 27 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy around 3%. And overnight, 24 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy around 8%. And that's what we have for Ibadan this morning.
And there seems to be a gulf of difference from Ibadan moving to Lagos. Not very far, but we have a very distant weather. 32 degrees Celsius is what the weather feels like in Lagos today. And of course, in the morning, it rises much further. It rises to 29 degrees Celsius, expected to be partly cloudy. Then rises much further in the afternoon to 32 degrees Celsius, also expected to be partly cloudy in Lagos. And in the evening, it drops by about, say, 3 degrees Celsius to 29 degrees Celsius, and it's expected to be mostly clear. Then it drops much further by 2 degrees Celsius overnight to 27 degrees Celsius, also expected to be clear in Lagos, Nigeria today.
Okay, let's cross over to Abeokuta, South Ogun, and weather this morning feels like 25 degrees Celsius. Later in the morning is expected to rise to 29 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy around 1%. In the afternoon, 37 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy around 0%. And in the evening, 28 degrees Celsius, clear around 4%. And overnight, 26 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy around 8%. And that's what we have for Abeokuta South this morning.
Still in Southwest, I'll go to Ekiti Southwest today, particularly Ekiti State. The weather feels like 19 degrees Celsius across board in Ekiti Southwest. Of course, 20 degrees Celsius. Then it rises by 8 degrees Celsius to 28 degrees Celsius in the morning, and it's expected to be partly cloudy. In the afternoon, it rises much further to 34 degrees Celsius, also expected to be sunny in Ekiti South today. And evening, 25 degrees Celsius. Overnight, 22 degrees Celsius is what is expected to be mostly cloudy in Ekiti Southwest, Ekiti State today.
Okay, we're still in Southwest. Let's cross over to Lorry International Airport, Kwara. Weather this morning feels like 21 degrees Celsius, and later is expected to rise to 29 degrees Celsius, sunny around 0%. In the afternoon, 37 degrees Celsius, sunny around 0% as well. In the evening, 29 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy around 0%. And overnight, 23 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy around 4%. And that's what we have for Lorry this morning.
And from Ilorin now, I'll go to the Federal Capital Territory, that's FCT. The weather feels fair at 23 degrees Celsius. Then it rises to 32 degrees Celsius, whooping. Expected to be sunny across board. Then in the afternoon, 36 degrees Celsius, also expected to be sunny. in Abuja today and evening. 27 degrees Celsius is where it drops to in the evening, and it's expected to be clear as well. The weather stays clear and remains clear overnight at 24 degrees Celsius in Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory today.
Okay, let's cross over to Port Harcourt Rivers. Weather this morning feels like 22 degrees Celsius and later is expected to rise to 28 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy, around 11% in the afternoon.
Need a professional space to bring your vision to life? Dominion Television Studios offers state-of-the-art facilities perfect for your next broadcast, commercial, corporate video, or live event. With flexible rental options, cutting-edge equipment, and a supportive team, we provide the perfect environment for high-quality productions. Unleash your creativity. For bookings, email us at marketing@dominion.org.ng. Call us on 0705 506 1061 or 0916 101 1061. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok at Dominion Broadcast and on X at Dominioncast. Book your space today. Dominion Television, your channel of choice.
Live from the heart of the action. Welcome to the nerve center of Next Level Broadcasting.
This is the OB van, where the studio meets the street.
Equipped with cutting-edge cameras, crystal clear audio, real-time switching, and broadcast control, we don't just capture moments, we deliver the experience live.
Anywhere.
Hello and welcome to Daybreak News on Dominion Television. My name is Anuoluwapo Idu. President Bola Tinubu has approved the implementation and operationalization of Nigeria's carbon market framework with high hopes of generating at least $3 billion annually by 2030. This was disclosed by Tenioye Majekodumi, Director General of the National Council on Climate Change (NCCC), who confirmed that the initiative will tap into emissions reduction opportunities across energy, agriculture, forestry, waste, and industrial sectors. Majekodumi told reporters that Nigeria will prioritize participation in the voluntary carbon market and international trading, while gradually introducing a domestic emissions trading system and carbon tax. The Nigerian Meteorological Agency, NIMET, has inaugurated its Artificial Intelligence Research and Integration Team as part of efforts to deepen innovation, digital transformation, and service delivery in weather and climate forecasting. The Director General and Chief Executive Officer of NIMET, Charles Anosike, who made this known through a statement signed by the agency, explained that the technical team will be responsible for developing AI-focused strategies that will improve the speed, accuracy, and accessibility of weather predictions through hybrid AI traditional forecasting models. He noted that building internal AI competence is essential to maintaining leadership in technological innovation and ensuring responsible deployment across key sectors such as aviation, agriculture, and disaster management. Moving on, the Ministry of Solid Minerals Development, in collaboration with the Department of State Services, DSS, has intercepted 7 trucks suspected of illegally transporting lithium ore in Kwara State. The operation, led by the Southwest Zonal Office of the Ministry, followed credible intelligence received on the 8th of January, indicating a convoy of 12 trucks was mobilized to remove lithium ore from an active mining site in Saki, Oyo State. Acting on the information, the Zonal Mine Officer Ganiyu Ajibade explained that the trucks were apprehended along the Okolowo-Eyenkorin Expressway in Kwara State. He added that the operation is in line with Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Dr. Dele Alake's directive, which enforces a zero-tolerance policy on illegal mining, protecting Nigeria's mineral resources. And in Oyo State, the National Association of Nigerian Nurses and Midwives, NANM, are advocating for a political solution rather than a legal showdown. Speaking with newsmen during the event, the Assembly's Minority Leader, Honorable Silvanus Mwako, of Omuma constituency, and Honorable Peter Abe of Degema addressed the press in Port Harcourt, urging their colleagues in the State Assembly to prioritize stability.
We are here this morning to appeal to the conscience of our fellow colleagues, having listened to so many pleas, calls from our elders and leaders, both within and outside the state, begging for leniency. We are begging, calling our colleagues to reconsider our step and see how this matter can be resolved amicably, even though the governor and the deputy governor has infringed the constitution.
We want to plead with our colleagues to please reconsider. This, we have received calls from leaders, from people in River State, outside River State, and we see that you don't raise the axe and swing it as you raise it. So we plead with our colleagues to reconsider, to please reconsider, provided the governor too has a role to play. He too must make sure he doesn't infringe furthermore on the Constitution.
As stakeholders across the country call for a peaceful resolution, all eyes remain on Rivers State House of Assembly to see if this call for dialogue will halt the impeachment momentum or if the legislature and the legislative armor will eventually fall. And now in business, the federal government has announced the commencement of operations at the high-purity gold refining plant in Lagos, with 3 additional gold refineries at different stages of development across the country, and a $600 million lithium processing plant in Nasarawa State ready for commissioning. The Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Dele Alake, disclosed this, saying the project marked tangible outcomes of the government value addition policy in the mining sector, and we're repositioning Nigeria as Africa's leading minerals hub and a strategic global partner in critical minerals for the green energy transition. Alake, who spoke during the meeting with the Saudi Arabian Minister of Industry and Mineral Resources, Ibrahim Al-Kouriev, held ahead of the Future Minerals Forum in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, said the operational Lagos refinery and the forthcoming lithium processing facility underscored the federal government's determination to move Nigeria away from export of raw minerals to in-country processing and benefaction. And now in sports, Super Eagles legend and former coach Sunday Olise has praised the Nigerian national team, asserting that their recent performances in the ongoing Africa Cup of Nations 2025 tournament are the best he has witnessed in 2 decades. In a recent interview, Olise shared his analysis of the team's evolution throughout the competition, acknowledging his initial reservations but expressing profound admiration for their current form. Following Nigeria's impressive 2-0 quarter-final victory over Algeria on Saturday, Olise took to express his confidence in the team, boasting that the Super Eagles are looking like African Cup of Nations champions from every angle. The Super Eagles are set to take on host Morocco in the crucial semi-finals today in Rabat. And that's about
Need a professional space to bring your vision to life? Dominion Television Studios offers state-of-the-art facilities perfect for your next broadcast, commercial, corporate video, or live event. With flexible rental options, cutting-edge equipment, and a supportive team, we provide the perfect environment for high-quality productions. Unleash your creativity. For bookings, email us at marketing@dominion.org.ng. Call us on 0705 506 1061 or 0916 101 1061. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok at Dominion Broadcast and on X at Dominion Cast. Book your space today. Dominion Television, your channel of choice.
Live from the heart of the action. Welcome to the nerve center of Next Level Broadcasting.
This is the OB van, where the studio meets the street.
Equip.
Military supplies to Nigeria. That was the big story yesterday. Just when everything was, winding down yesterday, there was that story, that report that yes, the United States has delivered military, artillery, weapons, and all of that to, the United States to the to the Nigerian agency, security agency in the country. It seems like a development. But all of that we check in the papers today. Welcome to this segment of newspaper headlines and analysis, where we bring to the fore the breaking stories, the high points, the low points of every story on the newspapers, particularly on the front pages of those newspapers. We have so many to go around today. I have the Nigerian Tribune with me, the Guardian newspaper, and quite a number of them as well. We'll get into some of the stories that are making headlines, are making the rounds across the nation, and maybe if time permits, we'll delve into some other regions of the world. I'm not doing this alone this morning. I have with me Temitope Ishola joining us on this very exciting segment of Newspaper Review.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Now let's get into the story. I was, of course, it's of interest to every Nigerian that the U.S. delivers military supplies to Nigeria. That story is on Nigerian Tribune newspaper. If you can get your hands on one this morning, that story is boldly inscribed, written on the front page of that newspaper. 129 terrorists arrested, 55 killed, 309 hostages rescued in Kwara, Kogi. Who gave the reports? The Nigerian Police Force. That's the story, and that's the reports that was given. Page 2 and page 8 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper is talking more about the U.S. government delivering military supplies to Nigeria. That seems to be the way forward. Maybe some would say, others would say maybe not exactly, but we'll get to know what becomes of that in the meantime. Now, over church massacre, DSS has listed 10 witnesses. That's also on the Nigerian Tribune newspaper, as you can see on your screen right now. It's saying that story loud and clear. Tenders more documentary evidences. That's about the Owo massacre. Maybe justice is going to catch up with perpetrators. Perhaps yes, maybe not. But of course, we'll keep our fingers crossed and see what becomes of that. Meanwhile, on the top corner, the right-hand side of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper is talking sport, and that's AFCON semi-finals. I fear Osimhen, Iwobi, Lukman, Morocco coach has come out to say he's afraid of our stars. Anyway, I know they're going to do us proud come this evening. All eyes on the Super Eagles of Nigeria, and of course, being the host nation, we're expecting no fraud, no malpractice, no, because Nigerians will come for you. I mean, that's on the joking side of things. Now, moving on from that story, NIWA to acquire barges vessels with 10.3 billion naira in 2026. That's also a story to check out this morning. And the Kitipo is making the rounds as well. Court nullifies PDP governorship primary, others fresh exercise. Federal government begins implementation ahead of agreement signing with ASU. That seems like a good one as well. We'll check into some of these stories. Let's check the Vanguard newspaper for one of time. The Vanguard is particular about business this morning, and on the front page of Vanguard newspaper, it says Nigeria's oil gas exploration defies federal government's efforts, drops 14%. NUPRC counts court investors with 50 oil blocks. That's the story on the front page, the biggest caption on the Vanguard newspaper this morning. Rivers crisis is also there. APC, CSO, others slam fire shade over Fubara's APC status, as you can see on your screen. And talking economy as well, Nigeria to record fastest growth in 2026. That's coming from the World Bank. Some have said, is World Bank actually working for the world or working for some sector of people? But that's even another conspiracy that we might not get into today. But let's get into the stories that is of interest to me. Now, residents flee Sokoto villages as Bello Turji issues new threat. That is also coming. Not a good one right there. Okwebolo, others release of remanded AAU students. We spoke about this yesterday. Perhaps if time permits, we'll also, harp on that a bit to see, we'll lean on that story to see what becomes of that as well. Now, let's get into the conversation this morning. I'll start with the delivery. United States military, Temitope, delivered military supplies to Nigeria. And I saw a lot of people here saying, hey, that's what we want, not just you sending ammunition, no, sending strikes, from wherever you're sending it to into the coffers of the states. I mean, this might be a good way to go, but how do we go from here? The police also reporting that 129 terrorists have been arrested. They have killed 55 and 309 hostages have been rescued in Kwara and Kogi. That's coming from the Nigerian police force as well. There seems to be a lot of movement around the military architecture of the country. There seems to be movement much more than we have ever seen before, especially against banditry. What do you make of this? Do you think it's the United States that made this happen, or eventually what's going to happen when it gets to the neck?
I think I want to believe that is the attention that the United States have towards this currently is the reason why we are seeing this result. And this is because, and I think, let me put it this way, this is not the first time America is interested in the Nigerian security space. It's just that policy has shifted. Under Biden and the likes, they amplified terrorism in Nigeria because it served some, should I call it, some agenda that they wanted to do. And this is balanced by the statement from the Senate during their review of when they were trying to remove the USAID that indicated that America funded Boko Haram, funded ISWAP and the likes. So definitely, and if you look at that trajectory also during that time frame of Barack Obama, Jonathan requested for arms, requested for I've forgotten the name of the helicopter he asked for, about 5 of them and fighter jets. And Obama's administration shut him down and said no. And that's when he had to go behind the scene using the plane of the previous Khan president from the eastern part of the south part of I already said Jaffa, and the same government amplified it. The American government talks. So in reality, that money was meant to go and buy arms in the black market to fight terrorism. And also up until, I think I've forgotten the name of the book I read, up until when he lost the election, most mercenaries that were brought in at that time claimed that they had just 2 weeks, 3-4 weeks to go into the bushes and clear out the terrorists and eliminate them totally. And the Buhari administration, as soon as they came in, told them to stop and sent them back. So all of those instances over the last couple of years indicates that the terrorism issues, the banditry issues were not something out of control in its entirety. It was because someone somewhere wanted it to happen and wanted it to remain that way, and the government was complicit. So this time around now, what we have seen with President Trump approaches to say, there's a new sheriff in town, there's a new shift. I don't want people dying. The lives of every single individual on earth is very important, and ends that strike. And so yeah, you might have colored it in a more religious undertone of saying, oh, Christians and the like.
Genocide, yeah.
But the truth is, whether it is Christians, whether it is Muslims, his intervention ensures that lives are going to be saved.
Yeah.
And thankfully, with this weapon now, I think it just amplifies the statement they've been saying that there's collaboration. So you don't just send in strikes. What happens to the ground first? Because if you look at it, America embarked on that strike without no boots on ground, basically. No US Army was on ground. And Trump has this policy also that he's trying to implement, whereby American soldiers don't have to go into certain wars. We saw what he did with Venezuela. They just went in, picked the man, and went out. There was nothing like, let's occupy the country.
Sorry, if I may quote in now. Let me take you up on one of the things you said. You said the government at the time was complicit, and you were referring to maybe the past administration, perhaps this as well. So let me get your thoughts on this. If they were complicit then, what makes the difference now? Why can we so trust the government right now to say they won't be complicit again after the United States is now sending weapons in?
Angle where I said the Nigerian government has been complicit. There is no way insecurity would last in a land for as long as this has been, and it's as if there's no headway. I just came across that interesting fact that in the last 15 years thereabouts of terrorism and the likes, no one has clearly been convicted, especially the high-placed terror names that we know, that has been convicted by Nigerian courts. And for the last same 15 years, 10 years, we consistently hear that there are certain individuals funding these terror groups that they are aware of. Till today, they've not released the names. So even the ones that the foreign guys released, I think UAE sent a name, some set of names last year, early last year, or even 2 years back. Nothing came out of it. The Nigerian government committing a crime is to make an example of someone that's committed that crime. And the Nigerian government has failed to do so. And that's because we also live in a very interesting space. It's either we try to analyze everything from a classist point of view, a religious point of view, and the likes. So we as a nation have a problem with looking at issues for what they are without trying to color it with different adjectives and the like. So that's what is happening.
Sorry, I mean, yes, you've nailed the point about complicit, points taken, right? But let's get into what I'm trying to ask is, let me rephrase that question to say, do you have trust in this present administration of Tinubu to be able to tackle terrorism in Nigeria?
I have a very slim trust, and that little trust I even have is premised on the fact that the American government is interested at the moment.
So it's not because of this administration?
No, it's not because. It's already clear. This administration is entering its third year, and it has to take the intervention of a Donald Trump before we are even paying attention to terrorism. And it's now, it's so amusing that for good 3 years, this is even an election issue basically, as at 2023, where there were issues in the country. And this same government just sidestepped it, kept quiet, downplayed it, boxed media from reporting as it should be, up until Trump's intervention. And even Trump's intervention is also as a result of that. Because Trump in himself was giving warnings, get something done, do something about this. The Nigerian government kept on dancing to the gallery and the likes, and that's what prompted him to go ahead with that strike. So it already shows that the government itself is not ready, doesn't have the political will to get this done. And that's why I was saying something about the way we tend to color things around. The Nigerian government is also handicapped because it's like the call not, that's where votes are coming from. Don't let it look like we're attacking the Muslims or fighting the North. And already we could even see that just Trump strike, those narratives were already coming up that, we'll meet in 2027. You have supported the Christian American president to fight us, and all of those things. So I for one, feel that if the American government should have another different priority that takes their attention of Nigeria, the Nigerian government will just go back to default mode. So my own prayer, my own hope is that whatever can be done within this time that American government has interest in us, we should do enough to decimate these terror groups to the point that it will take them multiple years before they can even try and get back to the stage.
All right. So let's switch over now to politics. Let's stretch our tentacles to politics. And talking politics, I will talk about River State. Quite of interest to everybody because we understand how important River State is to Nigeria. Especially to the economy. Now, the Rivers crisis is unfolding, maybe not so well for some persons, but yeah, Rivers crisis is saying APC and CSO and others are slamming Fayose over Fubara's APG status. But I mean, maybe just to bring to light what Fayose said. They said Tinubu would not sacrifice Wike for Fubara. That's what Afayoshe said. And also, he also mentioned, he was speaking to Fubara, that Fubara should come down from his high horse. He mentioned it yesterday that he should. Maybe that's an allegory that speaks to pride, that you're just being prideful. Why don't you just calm down? But maybe you want to put leaking. Maybe you want reconciliation. Maybe you want begging again for Fubara to Wike. Maybe that's exactly what he's saying. But a lot of persons are saying, but let me get your complete thought on this. What do you make of the Rivers crisis? And because yesterday it was also said that the presidency instructed that, you know, whoever has been appointed should face their duty. And some have alluded to it that the Tinubu administration was referring to Wike, that they should face what they are called to serve and not just, you know, delve into political. But some have also said, he said that because Fubara is now in the APC, which is actually a very good game plan, according to some persons. He said he's playing the chess well by, you know, getting himself into the ruling party. So it seems like maybe the president will be divided. But let me get your full thought on this. Where do you think this will lead, especially the Rivers crisis?
It's going to be an interesting ending. I think no one can really be sure of the script being written. We can only just follow the moves on the chessboard. But it's going to be interesting. I don't really see it ending well for either of the two of them, Wike and Fubara. In history has shown over the years that when two heavy horses like this tend to fight, it's someone else that will come in and benefit of it, because this side will not want to give way for this other one. And the best thing is to just tell the two of them to leave the ring and let new fighters come and entertain us. And that's what I see is going to happen with.
So help me interpret that. Do you mean Wike will be out, Fubara will be out, and someone else will come in?
I expect that. So in the shadows of all of this, someone is going to come out of it. So maybe not ahead of 2027, but in terms of the control of Rivers State, because everything you see going on is they are both fighting for the soul of Rivers State, to control it, basically. So, and Tinubu is interested in the soul of, and so they are just willing tools in the hands of, should I say, willing tools that played into the hands of Tinubu.
Hey, sorry, if I may ask, you said Tinubu is interested. How do you mean, particularly?
Anyone that has studied his political history would always tell you that Tinubu loves control over very highly prized entities, states, lucrative stuff. And even as at 2023, I kept on saying it to those who care to listen, that I had little hopes of any change coming out of his presidency, because I grew up in Lagos a little bit under his administration, and I could tell from the narratives around. I keep telling people, I said it was Fashola that made people like Tinubu. If Fashola had flopped, there will be nothing called Tinubu today in terms of the whole respect of Kingmaker and the likes. But because he got it right with Fashola and the likes, it was so easy to allude Fashola's success to him. But talking about how he does his things, basically, Rivers State, probably before now, was not even in the thinking capacity of APC to have control over. And Wike basically rewrote the results for APC. So which, first of all, earned him respect within their ranks. But he also refused to come into the party. So by so doing, Fubara's move into the party already changes the dynamics, because the PDP, the APC with Tinubu as its leader, has a policy whereby the sitting governor is the leader of the party in the state. Because you are the one with the resources of the state. You are the one with everything. So I keep maintaining it. If not for the love or whatever agreement has been done behind the scene for Wike, or done with Wike, Wike has no business being in Rivers State. He has no business being in Rivers State.
In the policy of the Rivers State.
Yeah, he has no policy. So all this one that Wike is doing, I think we should not even mind what. Everything that Wike is doing today is because he still has a little bit of backing from the presidency. If the presidency gets to the point where they make a decision and say, okay, who do you want to go with? I tend to assume that they would go with
Well,
Fubara.
at the local level, Wike has the backing of about a lot of lawmakers.
It's playing to the gallery. So when someone with an higher power comes in, you would align. Every one of them you see. And I keep saying it, that it's Fubara that I fought in all of this. Fubara had every opportunity to mess up Wike. But he kept on doing, oh, my brother, oh, my elder brother, you're the one that brought me to politics, you're the one that gave me food to eat. Okay, the person wants to remove food from your mouth, you're still begging him and dragging plates. You deal with him.
How do you, when you say deal, what do you mean?
Same way Wike did for Amechi and the likes. When Wike was a sitting governor, who is Amechi even though it was Amechi that just left the seat, to come into the state. If Wike is the current governor of Rivers State, he would not allow Fubara to go around is it 33 local governments in Rivers State to be doing thank you to. Like, if you step your foot inside his state, it first shows you that.
Well, what was he going to do? What was he supposed to do?
The same, that's why I said federal government is still, in a way, sympathetic to Wike. Under Wike, what they did, it was under Wike, or I think, no, not under Wike, I think it's under Amechi, that this commissioner of police blocked him from coming out of his house as the sitting governor. And what was the problem? Order from above. Federal government. Is it the right thing to do?
But
no.
Fubara doesn't have that power. He doesn't have that
does.
strength.
That's why I said...
The national power?
That's why I said his move to APC now gives him that resources at his disposal. But the decision, like I said, is still bent on what is the position of the government towards Wike and Fubara. So at the moment, what you see happening is that Tinubu is trying to still make use of both of them. So I want you. So attributed meaningfully. So that's why it is a very interesting dynamic. It's one that we've not seen before in the history of this country, and it's one that we are going to learn from moving on. But I still expect that when it comes down to the final decision, I believe that Fubara will be most likely the ones that will go with, because it's more softer, more calmer, someone that can still be tweaked around, moved around, that supposedly doesn't have a mind of his own.
All right.
And I feel that might work. And we can start seeing the moves. First, the National Security Advisor came to pay him a visit. That's Nuru Rubadu, who is very close to the president. We saw Hope Uzodinma. We saw, I've forgotten the name of the other man, former governor, I think Ogwuanyi also. Umai also came in. And there are feelers also within the ranks that the PDP Governors Forum are solidly behind Fubara. So all of these people have strengths and moves to pull behind the scene. And the fact that Wike has refused to join the APC currently undermines his ability to influence things.
Okay, so let's drive away for one of time. We're pressed for time, so let's take this story. We'll take two in one, and that's about the NARD, the National Association of Resident Doctors. There's been that issue, discussions, conversations, ultimatum, 14 days, not met again, and we're going on the 2-week strike, don't go, blah, 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 back and forth. But this is the story. NARD has rejected again the federal government's NMA job evaluation agreements before collective bargaining. But that's not just the story I want you to harp on as well. There's also another story about education, which is, of course, ASU. The federal government begins implementation ahead of agreement signing with ASU. Some have said it is important for lecturers not to go on strike, because the future of the country lies in the youth, especially with the ones that are in school and all of that. Very, very important. We understand that is very important, cogent, right? We also understand NARD to be a very important aspect and sector of the country. As the resident doctors, they also need to be taken care of. Now, it seems to be a limbo game for the presidency. Where should they stand, knowing that there's maybe not so much resources to put out, especially to satisfy both parties? But what would you rather the presidency do with regards to NARD and the ASU? What do you think should be the priority?
Both.
How do you mean?
Nigerian government over time has failed to get their priorities right. They tend to prioritize servicing the political structure against the country's workmen. Education, health are critical issues, critical sectors of the country. When you are budgeting, when you are making plans for progress, for development and the likes, those are two core areas alongside maybe security that you have to pay attention to. This government hasn't shown that they are really interested, and how you look at what they budget for these sectors, basically.
Perhaps the government will say they are limited resources.
But they are not limited to buy yachts that are not needed. They are not limited to refurbish the vice president's apartment with 20 billion, despite it's one of the best in the country already before the renovation. They are not limited to pay themselves jumbo salaries, allowances. They are not limited to start projects that are outrageous and are going nowhere, and release funds for it. They are not limited to send people out on trips, religious trips. So like I said, it's priorities. We have the money. It's just to allot it appropriately, to say, okay, we prioritize education, we prioritize health, we feel this is what this should go into, this is what should go into. The government, all the political appointees, workers and everybody, they all get their allowances. Why is it different for the academic guys? Why is it different for the health guys. Every one of them, every sector, every system should be allowed to run. So I'm not saying maybe you should remove so much from your political side, but I'm saying allot these resources well. Let there be a sense of balance. Let people, because even the legislator, you wonder what are they doing on it, especially with regards to how they operate. And you see people that are doing so hard, some on calls late at nights, odd hours and the likes. At least let them be happy. Let them be joyful going to work, knowing that their welfare is catered for. And I think that's where Nigeria has gotten it wrong. So just to tie it down, the government has to prioritize well. We shouldn't be at a stage where we are trying to think of which could be better, which should be prioritized between education and health. Both allot it, release the resources as quickly as it should. This even ASU is long overdue. I believe what they're asking for is not too much. I don't think any of them has asked for anything up to $1 trillion or even 50 billion. Like the figures are not even that humongous when you think of it from the demands these guys are making. They are working, they merit the pay. Just make it balanced alongside developing what. Interestingly, Nigerian politicians earn more, the Nigerian president earns more than the United States president. The senators earn more than the U.S. Senate. Like, it's like ridiculous. And when you look at the economy and our own, miles apart. So like I said, priorities are
So you're suggesting that they should cut down on the cost of governance,
absolutely,
and then maybe channel into some other.
Because if you say you don't have money, then you'd sit down and say, okay, what are our priorities? We need to. So that's why it comes in that if the government comes to the place where they say, okay, this is important for us to do, you look for where to get money to get it done. So if it's that you have to reduce your salary for the next 6 months, or release certain allowances for the next 6 months, or remove money from something else that is still not like realistic. So for instance, I'll give you, just to conclude on that, a simple example, the coastal road. What is being budgeted for a road that might not be completed in the next 10 years? That same resources could have been channeled into certain key areas that could generate returns and growth within 2 years, 3 years. And they will now have that same money back to do what they are doing. But because they want to siphon money, they want to corner these monies, then you see them doing elephant projects that they know that will yield no return immediately.
Let's talk about something that we might need to delve back into insecurity now. Your church massacre was a big deal, right? And it affected a lot of persons. I mean, a very sorry case for the country, Nigeria. But of course, something came out when the DSS released that they have listed 10 witnesses, and then they are still, it seems like there's still hope maybe at the end of the tunnel, especially with the fact that we're now getting to the end of the investigation. They said, according to them, that they have released also documentary evidences to support the claims that they are already working on. So it seems investigation is taking a new turn in the Nigerian state, especially in the security architecture. We've seen some developments also with some states having, area surveillance across the states, and it's a good one. But again, I want you to cut to the chase quickly, especially about the DSS listing 10 witnesses. Now, let's make sense of this. Listing 10 witnesses, does it amount to getting the investigation done and getting those perpetrators, getting them right on their neck?
It's even ridiculous for them to be giving that information at this stage after many years. There are a lot of witnesses. There's no way such incidents.
But investigation is sometimes it's also always prolonged. It's not as if it's something that, okay, we have investigation and this is it.
Absolutely. I agree.
Be a process.
There's a process for it. But at this point that we're in, the progress of investigation should not be submitted, it should not be premised on 10 witnesses at this stage. But that's something that could easily have been identified very early within the first few weeks. If it's taking you months to identify witnesses, then what of the probably DNAs and all those other stuffs on ground that needed real-time assessment and the likes. So that's why I said, yes, they might have had these 10 witnesses for as long, maybe they're just communicating that now. That's why I said the timing for communication is what I have an issue with. Left to me, they have no business telling us whether they've gotten 10 witnesses or the likes. We want to see results. We want to see results that translates to the fact that certain persons have been punished. We want to see, have been identified, moved to court to be interrogated, as well as getting convictions. At this stage that we are in, we need convictions. We need stuff that are deterrents to anyone happening again. So, and I believe that's where DSS or all the security agencies need to step up. We know that there are crises, we know there's crisis, we know there are perpetrators. What we want to see is, okay, what happens to these perpetrators so that it deters others from coming up. They've made insecurity lucrative, so we need to see how they can de-escalate that narrative by ensuring that they get convictions in court. So that's why, so they shouldn't do like EFCC that will make so many noise. Oh, we caught somebody with 40 billion, and at the end of the day, the person walks free.
So you want actions,
so we want
more than
actions
words.
beyond
Okay,
this.
so let's take it one step further now. Where do you stand talking tax reform policy? Peter Obi of the Labour Party presidential candidate in the 2023 elections came out to say there are discrepancies, there are gulfs, there are things we don't expect to be in that particular. Well, of course, we've seen also at the National Assembly level where there are also, you know, there are claims about having different gazetted tax reforms sent to them and the other passing round and all of that. So there seems to be a lot of gray areas. There are abstruse, you know, ways to also check this is that, oh, these things are not as clear as we expect it to be. But what do you make of all of the tax reforms? What do you think the government should have done right or should do right? Or what do you think Nigerians should hope for?
Maybe because of my approach generally to government, whenever they come around and announce new policies, I'm always very skeptical. And also because of this government. So my take might be a little bit biased in the sense that I do not expect so much from him in this area. Am I surprised with the tax reforms? No. I've already known that a tax review was coming or a tax policy was going to come in. But where I have issues with this is that we need some level of transparency that helps us to understand that, okay, this is for our good and easily interpreted. And they keep coming out to say, oh, this is that, it's good, is this. But if KPMG, a big finance firm, could come out and identify 31 different areas where there are either discrepancies or vague words that makes it hard to define, so and have to have a sitting with the NRS boss. So imagine what's the comprehension level for a market woman, for a secondary school, a university student or a graduate. It brings a lot of questions that, and already that meeting, no matter how they want to paint it or color it, it has kind of limited the trust again, which was even not so much there. It has kind of limited it for us. So I believe, and I would align with the position of former Governor Peter Obi, presidential candidate of the Labour Party, that this policy should be stepped aside a bit, it should be withdrawn and looked into properly before being brought back to the country.
Need a professional space to bring your vision to life? Dominion Television Studios offers state-of-the-art facilities perfect for your next broadcast, commercial, corporate video, or live event. With flexible rental options, cutting-edge equipment, and a supportive team, we provide the perfect environment for high-quality productions. unleash your creativity. For bookings, email us at marketing@dominion.org.ng. Call us on 0705 506 1061 or 0916 101 1061. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok at Dominion Broadcast and on X at Dominion Cast. Book your space today. Dominion Television, your channel of choice.
In politics, the most dangerous mistake is not choosing the wrong opponent, but choosing the wrong standard bearer. Good morning and welcome to The Big Story. I'm Uluwayemi Adelakun. Today we're examining a question that may very well define Nigeria's next electoral chapter: candidate selection and electoral success, while the opposition's choice could decide victory or defeat. Across the opposition landscape, fault lines are becoming increasingly visible. The People's Democratic Party, PDP, remains entangled in internal wranglings, leadership tosses, and unresolved zoning debate that threaten cohesion and electoral clarity. The African Democratic Congress, ADC, do emerging as a potential coalition platform, as even as multiple aspirants and their supporters lay claim to political superiority. The Labour Party, on its part, continues to wrestle with leadership dispute and strategic uncertainty. While intentions have been declared and ambitions made public, the absence of internal harmony raises questions about preparedness and electoral strength. History teaches us that elections are often lost long before ballots are cast, lost in boardrooms, party congresses, and flawed consensus-building processes, where zoning is mismanaged, grievances deepen, where candidates are imposed, legitimacy weakens, but where credible, inclusive, and strategic choices are made, even an opposition can transform momentum into victory. To help us interrogate this crucial moment, I'm joined by Ignatius Ofino, a Boselume, a research and public affairs analyst whose work straddles history, political behavior, and democratic processes. Ofino, welcome on board this morning.
Good morning, Uluwayemi Adelakun, aka Yimi. I'm so delighted with the script. Okay, thank you. So philosophical. Thank you. I'm inspired. Thank you. When I read the script, I'm inspired. Thank you. Good to see you this morning.
Same here. You're about to get more inspired this morning. So let's start from here. Of course, you're a researcher, and I wanted you to tell me now, how important, is the candidate when it comes to winning an election in Nigeria, looking at the political trajectory of Nigeria in the last 30 years?
There is one thing you must know about politics. Politics has what we call plethora definitions. Okay. Now, there is one thing this man said. Niccolo Machiavelli, when he wrote his book titled The Prince, he said politicians are typically held in low esteem because they are perceived to be power-seeking hypocrites who conceal personal ambition and hide behind the rhetorics of public service. That is one. Okay. Then when you're talking about politics, politics simply means the scrabble for power. It's all about the game of power. Who controls what and who gets what. That is what politics is all about. But when you're talking about the political class is just a representation of the larger society, or what can be best described as the microcosm of the larger society. So when we are talking about politics, the people should be more involved. When you're talking about the political class, they are just a microcosm of the larger society. Who is to blame? you blame the electorate more, not even the political class. The political class have a way of floating their own standard bearer, whether through imposition, whether through selective process. They know how to do it in their own way. But it's now left for the people to decide in choosing the right choice.
What if it doesn't appeal to the electorate? I mean the candidate now.
Let me give you an example. There is what we call plurality democracy. Okay. A multi-party system where you have more than 2 political parties. In Nigeria today, we are practicing what we call multi-political system. That's the type of system we are practicing in our own country in Nigeria. But we have 2 formidable parties in Nigeria. The ruling APC. Then we have what we call the opposition PDP. Why? Because PDP has once ruled Nigeria for 16 years. But what about other parties? We have other parties too in Nigeria. We have the Labour Party, we have the African Democratic Congress, we have the New Nigerian People's Party. So the choice is now left in the hands of the electorate. Let me give you an example. People keep saying that in the midst of 2 evil, you go for the lesser evil. But evil is evil. Evil will never proceed good. Evil will never yield good. So the problem I've always lied in the hands of the electorate. Before we used to blame the politician, I say, blame the politician less. Blame the people more. How will you continue to vote for an individual or a political party that have deprived you of quality life, that have deprived you of quality education, that have deprived you of quality healthcare delivery system, that have deprived you of what we call quality infrastructure?
So speaking of that, why do you think the people should be blamed more? Because, I mean, a lot of Nigerians have, said that they will not even go out to vote, because they are not satisfied with the candidate, of certain political parties.
Let me give you an example. Multi-party democracy is what we are playing now that plays out in Nigeria. Must it be PDP? Must it be APC? Must it be NNPP? What about other parties? That's the way to go about it. You know that this particular person is an oppressor. He has denied you and your children quality education, quality healthcare delivery system, quality road infrastructure, and you are aware about it. And you still say that you want to become indifferent. Are you being rational? Are you a rational thinker? You should be involved in voting. Because when you're talking about the politicians, they hold your political destiny at ransom. They hold your economic destiny at ransom. They are the one to decide the economic policy. They are one to decide what we call healthcare delivery system, the healthcare policy. They decide the educational policy. And you have no choice. But you can only have your choice during election. And you are now saying that you don't want to vote. Most of them are political merchants. So somebody that is going to determine your political destiny, you should be more involved in deciding who you want to govern you. So the people should be blamed the more, not the politicians. In the past, I used to blame the politicians, but for now, I blame them less. I blame the people more because we are in the midst of several alternatives.
Okay, speaking about candidacy now and, of course, electoral success, let's start from the ADC. Recently, the former Ekiti State Governor of Ayoshe submitted that Peter Obi, that recently defected to the ADC, is the only life of that coalition party. And then quite a number of supporters of Peter Obi have also come out to say that, if you don't give him the ticket, we are not going to support anything they say. Supporters of Atiku, talk about Dele Momodu, came out recently to say, okay, Atiku is also like the best person to contest for presidency come 2027. Talk about Amechi. Even the supporters, have also come out to talk. What you make of all of this? Because at the end of the day, some Nigerians are saying ADC, as it stands now, is looking like PDP with new futures.
Must it be Peter Obi? Must it be Alhaji Atiku Abubakar? Who says that Oluyemisi Adelakun cannot emerge as the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria?
I'm not partisan.
We have to be honest to ourselves. Out of 230 million people, must it be Atiku? Must it be Peter Obi? Must it be Peter Ayodele Fayose? We have to think deeply. Most of the politicians we are having in this country, most of them are political merchants. They have sold out our political destiny for their own good at our own expense. There is what we call intellectual revolution. There is what we call a protest vote. Those parties that have denied you quality rural infrastructure, those parties that have denied you quality education, quality healthcare delivery system, you have to vote them out of power. That's the way to go about it. Not coming and telling me that it is Peter Obi, it is Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, who says that Ofino cannot emerge as the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. We have to make a rethink as Nigerians. That is why we are getting it wrong. We all focus attention on Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. We focus attention on Mr. Peter Obi.
But these are the people who are interested in contesting. So whose fault is this?
What about the other people?
Mention names to me.
We have other people that are also contesting.
Okay.
We have other people that are willing to contest.
Okay.
But there is one thing you must understand is that Nigerian politics today is very costly. But the so-called, the oppressed, the time has come for them to congregate together. Won't stop the masses floating their own socialist party. Peter Obi is a symbol of capitalism. When you talk about Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, it's a symbolism of what? Capitalism. When you are talking about Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, he's a capitalist to the core. But the oppressed masses, they need a socialist that will lead them. So you have to blame the people more, not even the politicians. The politicians even don't want the people to cast their vote. What they want is this. They want party members to do the election. And when party members keep doing the election, we will keep getting the same result. And the people will become more impoverished. So the people must make a rethink. I'm just trying to figure something this morning. I want to configure something on this platform this morning. That the change will come from the people, not from the political class.
Okay, speaking of change now, how do you think the ADC can make this work? Because, I mean, APC has been ruling for the past 10 years now, over 10 years now. And then how do you think the ADC can make this work? Because people are saying that if care is not taken, ADC might also, fall into the era of 2023.
Is ADC a credible alternative? Look at the personalities that are there. We have some of them that have mortgaged the political destiny of this country. It is in this country you see ex-convicts becoming a president, becoming a governor. Criminals. We have to be frank and say, why is the masses? There must be a change. There is one thing my friend said, President Donald Trump of the United States. He said, I'm no longer giving you visa. Go back to your country. Go and develop your country. Is it not making a sense? Ofino, your father's house is leaking. Go and repair the roof. Is that derogatory? No! He has raised an observation for me to make correction. So we are having a problem in this country, and the people are to be blamed the more, not even the political class, because the political class, they run a caucus among themselves. Are you not surprised? If PDP becomes the ruling party today, those in the opposition will defect. If PDP loses out and APC becomes the ruling party, those in PDP will also defect.
Okay, Ofino,
at the expense of the welfare of the people.
If you think ADC is not a good alternative.
No, I'm not saying that it's not a... I'm just asking a rhetorical question.
Okay, I get you.
Is ADC the credible alternative?
Okay, if that's a good argument, what about PDP now? Because recently, INEC is yet to recognize any of the factions. Speaking of the national chairman, Damagum, actually, handed over to Turaki. INEC is yet to recognize that. And speaking of the faction of Wiki, so there's a tussle in the PDP now. And then the people are clamoring for change. A lot of Nigerians are saying, okay, we still want to retain APC. Some are saying, okay, we want another leader. We want a leader to come from another opposition party. What do you make of all of this? Because we have listed the issues going on in the ADC. What about the PDP now?
I cannot speak in proxy for PDP, but PDP has failed Nigeria in the area of opposition. Then we are supposed to play the role of a strong opposition. If not for the greed of Jonathan, PDP would not have lost that election in 2015.
You think he was greedy?
Greedy!
In what sense?
If not for the death of Umaru Musa Yar'Adua, Jonathan would not have emerged as president. If not for the imposition made by Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, imposing Umaru Musa Yar'Adua and Goodluck Jonathan in order to compensate the people of the Niger Delta who were agitating for resource control, Jonathan would not have become president.
Or he won independently.
But there's one thing you must know.
Okay.
Nigeria would have been a one-party state under PDP. I stand to be corrected.
Because PDP ruled for 16 years?
No, let's assume.
Okay.
If not for the greed of Jonathan, PDP would have been ruling Nigeria till now. You know, the North wanted power to shift back to them. You see, the death of Umaru Musa Yar'Adua changed the political arithmetic. Because when you look at PDP believe in what we call zoning between the North and the South, though it is not written in the Constitution. It's just like a convention that both of us have agreed. You are going to rule for 8 years. The next region will also rule for 8 years. So there was a mutual agreement. But because of the death of Umaru Musa Yar'Adua, of blessed memory, the political arrangement and arithmetic changed. So the North wanted power to shift back in 2015. But because of Jonathan's greed, he lost out. I'm saying it on this platform. Jonathan's greed cost the defeat of PDP.
Okay, if you think Jonathan is greedy, what about President Bola Ahmed Tinubu? You know, who's trying to go for the second time now?
He has every moral right to go for a second term. Because let me give you an instance. Okay. Jonathan, when you look at Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, he's a political genius. Tinubuism. It's an ideology. You know what he did? He felt that the only way to defeat a sitting president was for them to form what we call coalition. So when they organized that coalition, 5 different PC, Congress for Positive Change. Look at what Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu did. He did not say, I want to be a vice president for Major General Muhammadu Buhari. He said, Muhammadu Buhari, you can go ahead to be the standard bearer. At the end of the day, they nominated Oshibajo to be his vice. Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu was watching. You can see for 8 years, when Muhammadu Buhari ruled, he did not say anything. He was watching. Even when people were casting aspersion on Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, that the man you brought to rule us is not ruling well. What did he tell them? He said, don't worry. In 2023, I'm going to contest.
Is PDP not trying to do this?
So the man is a political genius.
Okay.
And you can see now, he's the incudent president. And he knows how to wed power. Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu no be Jonathan. I repeat again. Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, no be Jonathan. He knows how to wed power. Do you know how many senators Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu has sponsored? Members, Federal House of Representatives, those that he sponsored and they became governors. Do you think they just installed him as the Jagaban Bogu in Niger State, Northern Region? So here they call somebody Jagaban Bogu in Niger State. That shows that he has ensured that he built bridges across the geopolitical zones in Nigeria.
Going back to the PDP now, do you think it's possible for them to have a flag bearer for presidency in 2027, looking at the fact that INEC is here to recognize, the ruling chairman?
There is an internal crisis in PDP. There is also an internal crisis in APC. But the difference is this. APC has a mechanism and a way of reconciling their own differences. But in PDP, I wouldn't know, because of their greed and personal ambition. That is what is causing the defeat and the problem in that party till now.
So a candidate might not emerge, that's what you are saying, because of the
if the candidate actually emerge, will such candidate be recognized by INEC? When you are talking about the electoral success, the electoral process is there. There is a way let me give you an instance. There are 3 ways you have to nominate your candidate. 1, we have through consensus. And who is going to be in charge of consensus? Members, Board of Trustees, the National Executive Committee, the National Working Committee of that party, based on their constitution. That shows that some people you have to step down for other person. You have to tell the world the reason why you decided to adopt a particular person as your standard bearer. Then what we call direct primary. In that direct primary, what does it mean? All registered members of a particular political party will organize a congress. Then you now queue and cast your ballot on the candidate you want to represent your party. Then what we call indirect primaries. In that indirect primaries, what they do in the first instance is this. The party members will organize, the party will organize what we call a congress. The party member will now nominate delegates. So in that delegate now, the delegate will represent your local government. Those that will represent the senatorial district will emerge. Those that will now represent the state will emerge. They will now go to the national convention. At the level of the national convention, those delegates will now nominate someone who will become a flag bearer of the party.
Okay, Ofino, let's talk about Labour Party now. We've spoken about the ADC and, of course, the PDP now. And we have factions in the Labour Party too. We have the Nenandi faction, we have the Bure faction. But something funny happened in the last few days. Immediately, Peter Obi left Labour Party for the ADC. INEC came out to submit that Abure is no longer the national chairman of the party, though they are yet to work on their website in terms of changing the name now. Do you see Labour Party, coming up, or let me say, gathering the number of votes they were able to gather, in the last election, looking at this, tosses within the political party? Because we are talking about, the candidate, or let me say the flag bearer of the opposition party, whether they are going to fail or lose, based on the person that, they put forward as their candidate. What do you make of the Labour Party as it speaks now that Peter Obi is out of the party, and then Dati Baba Ahmed is running mate in 2023, came out to say he's going to contest?
Centaris paribus, all things being equal. The Labour Party was even supposed to be the ruling party in this country. Was supposed to be if the Nigerian Labour Congress were well organized and the Trade Union Congress. But there is one thing I keep discovered. Labour Party may work well in UK. Is it actually working well in Nigeria? Civil servants are not supposed to be partisan. So that was why from the onset, I disagree. I disagreed on the fact that the Nigerian Labour Party, Labour Congress, decided to have a political wing. That is disloyalty. There is what we call oath of allegiance as a civil servant. A civil servant must not be partisan.
You are saying that the NLC is working closely with the Labour Party?
Yes!
Okay.
There is disloyalty in the civil service. Sometimes APC might decide to introduce an economic policy, but because civil servants are biased, the tendency is there to ensure that they frustrate that policy. Are you not seeing it from that angle? Labour Party is not supposed to be registered in Nigeria in the first place.
Why?
I'm saying it. Civil servants are supposed to be loyal.
It was a huge thought force. I mean,
no! They are supposed to be loyal to the Federal Republic of Nigeria. As a pressure group, fine. The Nigerian Labour Congress is there as a pressure group. The TUC is there as a pressure group. Now you went ahead to register Labour Party.
This party
a political party. No, it doesn't count. Okay. Let me give you an example. I was just looking. I remember when I was young in the civil service, there used to be what we call housing loan, car loan. That is what the Nigerian Labour Congress supposed to be fighting for. Not registering a political party. That political party they register, I see it as a finger of conspiracy against the workings of government. Civil servants make the government to work. Let me give an example. Do you know what I'm trying to explain here now? APC is different from Labour Party. APC is now the ruling party. Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu now decide to introduce an economic policy that will work well for the overall development of the country. Economic policy to fly.
Okay, before we conclude now, let's talk about Dati Baba Ahmed. Do you think he has the capacity to slug it out with other flag bearers across the opposition parties? Should he become the flag bearer?
I cannot speak in proxy for Labour Party. You know, I've made my own opinion that in the first instance, Nigeria Labour Congress was not supposed to float a political party in this country. UK is not the same thing with the Federal Republic of Nigeria. We are not the same. Do you know in the civil service, we have what we call divided interest? Are we supposed to have a divided interest in the civil service? Let me give you an example. The Nigerian armed forces are not allowed to vote. They have to be neutral. The Nigerian police force are not allowed to vote. They are supposed to be neutral. Civil servant can vote. If any civil servant today decide that he want to contest for any political position, what do you do? What is the rule? You have to tender what? Your resignation.
Okay, Ofido.
That's the rule.
Let's conclude now. Looking at all the opposition parties we have in this country now, the major ones, Labour Party, PDP, and the ADC, what do you think is their strongest advantage? Looking at the 2027 election, is he the candidate now or the political party?
For now, they don't really know what they are actually looking for. Nigerians want a change. I'm not the one that will speak on behalf of Nigeria. But there is one thing I've discovered, that APC came into power through propaganda and through coalition. And the only way to defeat APC, although I'm not demarketing APC, okay, I'm not demarketing them, but the only way to really defeat APC is through the way of coalition too. That shows that ADC, Labour Party, NNPP, PDP should come together and float a single flag bearer.
Is that possible? Because even in ADC as we speak now, they are very difficult to actually say, okay, this is the person.
That's the way to go about it.
Now talk about all
to form a unity government. Together. But when it comes to issue of governors, senators, members House of Representatives, State House of Assembly, they can decide to float their own candidate. But when it comes to the level of the presidency, they should adopt a candidate.
But in the ADC, we have quite a number of big shots. Do you think all the other political parties must come together to flag, one single person?
That is the only way to defeat APC. Do you know what it means, Emilio Khan? He was not in power, and he made that bold statement. Do you know that Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu himself is a thesis on his own? Someone should write a thesis about His Excellency Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, the incumbent president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. You know what he said? He said, Emilio Khan.
So you are saying...
And he won that election when he was not even in power, against all, darkest all, let alone now that he's in power.
So you are saying it is difficult to defeat APC as we speak until about 4 political parties can come together. That's when they can take over power.
Politically.
Okay.
If they can be able to align together politically and float a candidate that the people will admire, a candidate that the people can see as a father figure. Nigerians actually need a change. Although I am not demarketing APC. I am not demarketing Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. But the only problem I'm having is this. There should be in our own electoral process.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to a situation in which, let's assume, INEC registered 100 million people. Then the 2/3 of 100 million is what? 67 million. Then in the new electoral act, it should be stipulated that before you can be declared as the president, 67 million voters must cast their vote. And out of that 67 million voters, you must have what called a simple majority. And what's the simple majority? What's the half of 67? The half of 67 will give you 34 million. So that will ginger the political class to mobilize the people to vote. What we are having in this country is today, INEC registered 91 million voters in 2023. At the end of the day, total voters was less than 25 million. It does not speak well about the giant of Africa. That is what I'm more bothered about. I want a situation in which 2/3 of the total registered voter it will now be stipulated in our law that out of 100 million registered voters, 67 million must cast their vote on that day. Okay. And before you can be declared the winner, you must have no less than 34 million votes.
It
will make it very competitive.
Okay, we need to go, honestly, because of time. But a big thanks to you for joining this conversation.
I'm delighted to be here this
Though
morning.
A lot of analysts have argued that until some political parties, decide to flag the best person, a lot of persons will not come out to vote. Elections reward preparation, punish division, and remember, mistakes long after slogans are forgotten. As we have explored today, the strength of an opposition is not measured only by public dissatisfaction, but the ruling party by its own internal discipline, strategic clarity, and capacity.
Need a professional space to bring your vision to life? Dominion Television Studios offers state-of-the-art facilities perfect for your next broadcast, commercial, corporate video, or live event. With flexible rental options, cutting-edge equipment, and a supportive team, we provide the perfect environment for high-quality productions. Unleash your creativity. For bookings, email us at marketing@dominion.org.ng. Call us on 0705 506 1061 or 0916 101 1061. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok at Dominion Broadcast and on X at Dominioncast. Book your space today. Dominion Television, your channel of choice.
I welcome you back. Thank you for staying with us this morning. It's time to take trend watch, and of course, Anuluapo is with me back on set this morning. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much. That was such a conversation that needs to be had again. Maybe someday, somehow, we still keep harping on these issues.
Definitely.
Yeah, now talking about Trend Watch today, it's also about PDP. Maybe the question will be, what is wrong with the People's Democratic Party? You know, there's been questions about at the national level issues, at the state level issues, where can we not get issues in the PDP? There seems to be controversies here and there, but the latest one is Wale Oluyede is vowing to appeal PDP primary notification in Ekiti State, and if you are abreast of this story, maybe you see a brief of that, what happened, what came about when he said he is the winner of the People's Democratic Party governorship primary in Ekiti State, Dr. Wale Oluyede. He confirmed plans to appeal the Federal High Court's notification of the exercise, describing the ruling as unjust and procedurally flawed. You know, according to his lawyer, Oweshini Ajayi, who stated that an appeal will be filed promptly along with a request for a stay of execution to prevent the immediate conduct of a fresh primary. Now, the issue is beating everywhere. Everybody's just talking about it. It's making the rounds. And, you know, the justice also ordered that there should be, in collaboration with INEC, a new and a fresh primary in the PDP, to which will adhere to compliance and the law according to the Constitution as well. All of this, there seems to be a lot of issues around this. But first, let me talk about the financial implication of this. If you conduct a primary, for you to conduct any primary, you need to spend. You need to, you know, expend resources, which we have seen. We're not talking about thousands here. We're talking about millions, definitely, for that primary to be. Because you talk about the materials that will be printed. Talk about some of the things some of the ad hoc staff and all of those committees that will be set up. Imagine how much will go into that. I mean, if they don't have problems with money, then I probably should not have a problem with that. But another issue is this. What is the role of INEC in political parties administration? Because there seems to be that conversation, especially when the PDP convention in Ibadan came, and then the INEC said they did not go. INEC did not honor that invitation. Some said it is, others said it. But I mean, there's been that claims that should INEC be involved in parties, administration, but then if INEC is not involved, we is to be involved. We've seen courts coming to say, okay, this is not going to, we are ruling this out, this did not exist and all of that. We've seen courts come to, but if courts is doing that, I think it's okay. But what of INEC? If INEC comes to say that because we want to also have a say in this, then something should not happen. Should INEC in the first place be part of the people that are going to make up that decision? It seems Ekiti State is also having another issue now. They want just a primary. You know, some would say that if you cannot even, you know, coordinate your household, then how can you coordinate the country? So at the national level, there's issue. At the state levels too, there's issue. At the primary level, maybe the grassroots level, that you don't expect anything to happen, they are also democratic part. And I think if they are not careful, this might bankroll, did I say bankroll? This might boomerang into something else that might affect them come 2027.
Yeah, I think you're very spot on. And speaking of the convention, a lot of politicians said that, you know, it was a Christmas party, you know, as far as the INEC is concerned. So you asked the question to say, you know, what is the rule of INEC? According to the Constitution, INEC must be part, you know, of every primary election.
Of the process.
Exactly.
Not making decisions.
Not making decisions. They must be part, they must be involved, they must be in the know, because, I mean, that's the body that conducts election in the country. But then there are issues. So this can be traced back to the fact that INEC did not recognize that convention, you know, that led to the emergence of Turaki, Turaki as the new national chairman. Yes, they were invited, but there are court cases. Remember, we have factions in the PDP. A certain faction took the case to court. And so they are still battling with resolving, you know, all these court cases. This is the main reason why Adeleke left PDP. If not, I mean, he's a gunner. How is he supposed to contest? He left PDP for the Accord party because apparently cannot contest under a political party that is going through internal wranglings. So it's a problem. What is happening to PDP now, as we speak, Labour Party is also going through it. Speaking about the FCT polls, you know, INEC is unable to actually, you know, upload certain, you know, things about the candidates now because of the faction within the Labour Party. Speak about the Nenandi, speak about the Abure faction. Until political parties decide to put their house in order, the candidates will continue to suffer, and then the wise one will leave. We leave for another political party where they can contest.
My issue is with INEC. If INEC is making, if you call INEC and they say they are not coming, why are they not coming? Is it because they are partisans to a party?
According to INEC, I'm not trying to speak for INEC now.
That's my issue here.
Exactly. INEC is saying, oh, we are following the court order. And according to the court order, there are cases on ground, unresolved. And because of that, we are not going to be a part of any primary election until those cases are resolved. And of course, we have a sole chairman. How can a political party be having two national chairmen? It doesn't make any sense to INEC. So they are saying, okay, we must get to a point whereby you can put your house in order so that we can have one single, you know, chairman in a political party, and there can be order. So good luck to Labour Party, good luck to PDP as a speaker. Now, it's also sad that people like, you know, Oluyede, we have to suffer things like this. I mean, these are the things that Adeleke saw, and that was why he left the party. If care is not taken, a lot of other politicians will defect to other political parties. And I think it's a fine place to leave it this morning. A big thanks to you for being a part of today's segment, of today's session of Daybreak Live on Dominion Television. My name is Oluwayemi Adelakwa. Before I go, G.A. Almond and S. Baba says something. Political culture depends on how we relate and how we see our politics, you know, as a country. I think our attention, our attitude towards politics must change, you know, as a country. My name is Oluwayemi Adelakun. Good morning.
And thank you for staying tuned. My name is Andolo Akpoedo. That's all we have for today. Enjoy the rest of the day. Bye for now.